Hello. Just done some fantastic concerts. I went up to the trombone festival in Lille, in northern France. I always find it interesting when Americans say Lille, France, because to us it's just Lille, you know. My two favourite trombone festivals are Slide Factory and Lille. If I ever get invited to either of those, I just say yes. Other than that, I have to think about it quite seriously. But Nicolas Lapierre and Christian Bogart in Lille put together this festival. If you've never been, you should really go. They put what seems like millions of young trombone players in a room, and so it's like somehow they get this festival kind of party atmosphere. The concerts are amazing. They have great people going in there and doing things, and also me. And so it was an absolute delight to be back there. And I did a duet with Isabel Dawes, which was wonderful. I've known her since she was 12. It was really lovely. She played absolutely wonderfully. She's a fantastic player. Then went down to the south of France the day after and did a quintet concert with just the most amazing team, you know, in the Reinhold Friedrich Brass Quintet. It's not often I sit down and say, you know, thanks for letting me play. But it is amazing. It's an amazing group. Loads of people turned up, had a fantastic time. Anyway, why am I telling you all of this stuff? Well, I'm telling you because normally up to this point in my life, if we leave COVID out of it, I kind of just sit back. People say, who's your agent? Do you have well, I have an agent in Japan and people help me in other places, but no, I'm just, you know, people ask me to do things. No marketing people? No marketing people. And every couple of weeks, a really amazing project has come in, either playing or conducting a brass ensemble or whatever. It's been really cool. And it stopped. I had, I think, two solo concerts between January and March, like 2 in 3 months. I don't think that's happened since I was like 9 years old, apart from pandemics, as I said. And so my life is kind of like, if I do too many concerts, I'm being a bad teacher. If I do too much, if I don't do concerts, I'm not fulfilling my artistic goals. If I do too much work, I'm being a bad dad and a bad husband. And, you know, basically there's so much happening in life that I'm always failing in some area or another. I guess that's just modern life, isn't it? So don't worry about me. I'm more than busy. I usually have 3 times more work than I can possibly cope with. But for the first time I was, you know, and as we've discussed before, I'm a kind of like a needs-based practicer. I love playing the trombone, but somehow, you know, I'll find other things rather more interesting to do sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I cover my bases every day. I play every day. I practice every day, but just, it's not the same if you're not sort of like having to be fighting fit, you know, for the next big performance or whatever. And I started looking in the mirror and thinking, you know, it looks like me, but old. I guess you could say that's a natural part of the aging process, couldn't you? But it was like, not normal, you know, I felt more grumpy than usual and old, and I did these concerts, and I looked in the mirror and I thought, you're not doing so bad for 60, you know, that's okay. And I felt, all of a sudden, I had energy, I wasn't tired, and it just, the importance of finding what it is that you do and doing it. It was really, I think I had to go through that kind of, if you like, lean patch in regard to performing, to actually approach again how much it is part of who I am, you know, and what it is to be me. And so, like I say, I normally never push, but I've actually pressed the accelerator a little bit in the last couple of weeks And I feel very fortunate because doors just seem to kind of open, and I'm putting more solo performances in, making sure, really checking that I do have places to play, because I do love it. And I think the thing is finding out what it is that you love and doing it. Never mind what society says you're supposed to do, or you know what the unwritten rules of life are. If something's important to you, if it's part of who you are, you owe it to yourself to do it. And so that's kind of why I wanted to say that. As it happens now, the summer that's coming up is really amazing. I'm going to Biba, Blekinge International Brass Academy. Seeing my friends Marke, Jan, Marlin, Matthias, the same crew that's been there since 1853. It's a beautiful place, but anybody, Americans, you know, who don't know about this, or even anybody at all, for me it's the best brass festival. For me, I absolutely love it. It's the same thing as Lille. It's serious. The teachers are fantastic. It's going to be Jim Markey and me this year, so I'm so looking forward to seeing Jim again. The concerts are great every night. You know, the teachers really stand up and deliver, and it's just, the atmosphere is lovely. The bacon in the refectory is world class. I'm happy to say that I'm kind of vegan most of the time, but that bacon is really good. So I'm doing that. It's a beautiful place as well. So I'm doing that, and then we got lots of quintet concerts. I'm going on tour with the Vienna Philharmonic Brass, which would be great to see the old team again. Actually, I'll be working with former students in the section, which is really, really, really cool. So lots of good things, nice solo things coming up next year. The quintet is really starting to bubble now. And I am enjoying that, as I've said on other podcasts. It's a love that I never expected to find, you know, that I'd never really done much quintet stuff. So, oh yes, do you see, for that, I've got like a newsletter coming out where I actually playing on the podcast. Oh, it's not like a newsletter. You see a nice silver mute back there. This is not a mute advert. You can't buy that. Don't think you can anyway. When Lasse Lindgren took over Ulven Mutes, Sweden, he found kind of like in the basement, some from the 1950s, the Dizzy Gillespie Harman mute, wah-wah mute, whatever, and he sent me one. It's incredible. It weighs a lot. It's really solid. I think in the case of, you know, an apocalypse, I think that will be still remaining. I think it'll probably still play nicely in tune. It's incredibly solidly made. And so that is fantastic. But the Ulven meats are really good. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of other things that I found interesting. One is, my wife gets up every morning at 5:20 and actually comes down here and does yoga and meditation for 2 hours. We work in our family. She doesn't go to bed early either. Gets up at 5:20, and I always say, you know, how was your meditation? How was the yoga? Oh, terrible. I was thinking about, you know, planting zucchini or whether we could grow tea here instead of, you know, you're supposed to turn your brain off and just be flatline, you know. It's the kind of thing people pay thousands of dollars to go on retreats. And it's always, can you do that? Can you turn your brain? I can't. However, if you listen to Jiddu Krishnamurti, who's like an old Indian sage, for want of a better word, they call it a guru. He always said, have you noticed that if you don't process the matters of the day, his English was far better than mine, if you don't process the matters of the day before you go to sleep, your brain will wake you up to consider it in the night. Known to most people as waking up in the night worrying about things. And I think, you know, everyone says, oh, meditation's really good for your playing, it's really good. Yeah, you think about the things that you wouldn't have time to think about in the rest of your day. You allow 20 minutes, half an hour, in the case of my wife, 2 hours, just to sit there, and these thoughts will just come and go, but you will process life. And, okay, good, what's that got to do with music? Well, I was talking to a doctor friend, alternative doctor, recently, and she said, yeah, Ian, great, you're busy, but when do you get time to actually sit down and be inspired? When do you actually just sit and allow thoughts to come to you? Artistic thoughts, creative thoughts, expressive thoughts. If you just get out of bed and run all day, you're never going to get time just to sit and contemplate, for want of a better word. And it is really, really, really true. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, not only did we not have a telephone, a car, or a television until I was about 11 years old, 9, 10, 11 years old, something like that. Cars didn't drive past the house. If an aeroplane came over, you used to run out and look. And the television didn't start till 4 o'clock in the afternoon when we got a television anyway. So the silence that I've just left there was a normal, everyday part of my childhood. When do we ever get that? And we need that for rebalancing as musicians, as artists, just to process. Otherwise, the world is coming at us so crazily, crazily fast. I was teaching in London a couple of weeks ago. I still like going back to London to remember what it is to be English and to laugh. That spontaneous laughter that is, and joking, that is only going to happen in England. The health service is terrible, blah, 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 whatever. It's not terrible, actually, it's amazing, it's just not funded properly. But all of these things where England's falling to pieces, but they still laugh. And that's quite a quality of life, really. Anyway, I was in London, and a student came in and said, I'm really sorry, I haven't been up practiced as much as I would have liked to. Excellent student. That means he'd practiced a lot, just not as much as he wanted to. And he said, I've been on this special elective course on experimental music. And I said, oh really? Fascinating. What kind of experimental music was it? Oh, it's a bit embarrassing, really. We didn't actually play our instruments. We were just like passing sounds to each other and reacting and banging bottles and this sort of, and repeating rhythms and developing rhythms. And I said, well, what's experimental about that? Isn't that what we should be doing anyway? All of the time. Playing, interacting, developing, growing. So it's not really experimental, but it's a great thing to do. It's normally the kind of things that I think is done in outreach, things in schools. So I just was, well, isn't that what we do in a brass quintet? You play something and someone takes it and develops it, or does what you do and slightly alters it, or plays exactly what you do, or takes the opposite role. It's really interesting. Experimental music, not very experimental. Another thing that just happened to me, I share this with you because it's something that I consider automatic, and I spoke to some young players yesterday about it, and they went, well, not really. My son, he's a very nice boy, and he's a very good trombonist, but he's a bit clumsy. And I lent him one of my trombones. I lent him the trombone that I recorded Mahler 2 on with the Vienna Philharmonic, and he dented it. And at that point, I said, how do you... And what was bad was he hadn't noticed. If he dented it and said, I'm so sorry, look what I've done, they'd be like, oh, what, me? No, I hadn't noticed, she's been a bit clumsy. And I realized something, that the way that I feel about instruments, the way that I feel about objects in general, but particularly instruments, I feel like a personal connection to any instrument that I play. That one behind me is, I feel a very close attachment to. We've been through a lot together. We've made a lot of mistakes together. And we've struggled and we've fought. And I think those emotions and those experiences, those vibrations go into the instrument. And that's what I feel. And so when I see a dent in an instrument, it hurts me. It's like seeing animal cruelty. It really upsets me. And it's that thing of you build a relationship. And I realize that whenever I play an instrument, I feel I'm reaching out to it to build a relationship with it. It's not a piece of machinery that I operate. You know, you can have good and bad pieces of equipment, but an instrument's more than that. To me, it's part of you. It's like I'm connecting. I'm reaching out. It's like, we're going to get through this together. Don't worry, it's not that bad. Actually, I have to remind myself to come back to this. I never told anyone this before. I told someone this last week about when I decided not to play in orchestras anymore. And you can actually see it online. You know that thing, best bolero? That's the best one. It's clear. There are other things where it wouldn't be. That's a good bolero. And it's that one with Dudamel in the Lucerne Festival in the Vienna Philharmonic years ago. And it's good. It's good. And I finished it and I thought, you know what? I can do this. But do I really want to? Do I want to keep going through this for the next 25, 30 years? Who knows? 20 years. I would like to do something different. It's like, that was okay. That was a kind of reasonably scary thing to do. No pre-takes, no retakes. Could have been a very famous bolero. And it's like, I did it, I just thought, yeah, after 30 years, I think I've done enough of this. So you can actually see live, you can actually go onto YouTube and watch me live, reach the decision that I didn't want to sit in orchestras anymore. Actually, I'm going to do a bit more. I'm going to go and play in La Scala in September with Danny, which is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it very much. Anyway, back to the instrument and the connection. So that I've got so many trombones, I can't sell them because it's like part of me. We went through so much together. Sometimes I'll go through a box of mouthpieces and, remember, this one here that I've nearly put my finger through because I played it all day, every day in London for 9 years. And all of those things that we went through together. Look, this looks like I'm holding a little mouse, doesn't it? So, I think that makes a big difference. I always feel that my sound is better if I feel I have an emotional connection to the instrument, as opposed to when I just operate. I think the sound is more personal. Of course, the ultimate connection to a place, I think, or feeling history. I'm a big amateur historian, so I love going to places, particularly in silence, which is why I like a lot of churches, and just feeling all of that humanity that's been around for hundreds, sometimes 1,000 years. It's like at Wells Cathedral School in England, the room that you play the concerts in there, the old room, it was built in 915. Like an American friend of mine said, what, 9:15 this morning? It was built in 9:15. It's amazing. And to sit in there in silence and feel what happened, all of the things that must have taken place in there. And when I was in London, if we did recordings in Abbey Road Studios, the orchestra was always in Studio 1, the big one, you know, that Elgar first tested, whenever it was. Where all the Star Wars films, and you name it, all the films were made, so many recordings. And you'll know the name Abbey Road for obvious reasons. And if you go to the back of Abbey Road Studio 1, go to the back, you go across the corridor and there's Abbey Road Studio 2. And it was usually empty. That's where I used to go and warm up. No one bothered. If it was open, I just used to go in, and that's where the Beatles did all of their recording. And it was untouched. They hadn't changed it with a lick of paint. They had not touched anything since the Beatles had recorded in there. And you name it, whoever else. So that means that when they did the Abbey Road recordings, they were sitting down there, and Alan Parsons would be sitting up there, with George Martin and all that sort of stuff. And to just practice long notes in there and feeling the atmosphere in the room and stopping in silence and listening. Resonances of the past was quite an amazing thing to do. But that's the ultimate, feeling the connection, feeling the history. I think if I had this conversation with string players, they'd say, well, yeah, this is part of my body, this is who I am, this is my voice, this is an extension. But I discovered, I think a lot of brass players, to a lot of people, it's just a piece of equipment. I like this mouthpiece and this instrument because it's like I drive a car or whatever. The connection you would have to a piece of machinery. So, just wanted to share that with you. I'm just going now to coach the Gustav Mahler Youth Orchestra. I'm going to the chalet in a couple of hours, where I was not expecting to become a forester at the age of 60, but trees coming down, chainsaws, big axes, dangerous things, out of one's comfort zone, very nice. So going there for the weekend, and then I'm going directly to Pordenone in northern Italy to coach the Gustav Mahler Youth Orchestra, Bruckner 5 with Petrenko, and one from the Berlin Philharmonic, and wonderful team. I always have a lovely time. It's nice to be back with my family at the Gustav Mahler Youth Orchestra. I like Pordenone, and it's always just a lovely week. So, hope you're all well, and I'll be back soon.